As we say, and I got to follow that. Wow. Don't we have an amazing, amazing band and singers? I know. They're part of this as much as our talks and our prayers. They are equally as inspiring to us, and we're so grateful, Scott, for keeping the dogs and cats together in this wonderful, wonderful life that we have here at Spiritual Center of the Desert. So I thought I would start off with a little humor today, which is not uncommon for me, but I thought I would start off with a little story, and please bear with me because the beginning you might not think it's so funny. So here's a story about a young couple who are very excited. They're going to go and get married, and they're in the car and they're driving, and unfortunately they got in a really bad car accident, and both of them were killed. Stay with me. Okay. So they end up winding up in heaven at the pearly gates, and there's St. Peter welcoming them in, and they said, we were on our way to get married, and we were wondering, is there any way we can get married in heaven? And so St. Peter scratches his head and said, stay right there, I'll check and see. So a month goes by, 2 months go by, and St. Peter never came back. And so the couple is saying, well, you know what? We need to think this through a little bit more. If we can get married, and our marriage doesn't work, we need to make sure that we can get a divorce. So after 3 months, St. Peter comes back and says, I got great news for you. I found a priest, you can get married. And the couple looks at each other and they look at St. Peter and they say, you've given us so much time to think about this. We thought, it might not work out. Is there any way that we can get a divorce if things don't work out? And St. Peter turned bright red, got so angry, he said, What? What are you saying? It took me 3 months to get you a priest, and now you want me to get you an attorney? How long do you think that's going to take me? So, yeah, and the story just reminds me of, do we need to laugh still? I don't want to stop that. So the story just reminds me of classic religion and what we're taught about God being judgmental and harsh, and that at the end of our lives we're going to be standing either in a cool place or a hot place. And I'll tell you right now, this place is like hell right now, right here in the desert. But it just reminds me of how we've been kind of taught about religion. And what I see right now is our concept of God is really evolving. We're evolving at warp speed because we're outgrowing this old way of seeing God as this judge, right? We're coming into a place, as I talked to you about in the religions, the people that thought about New Thought created this whole idea of God that's really beyond this person sitting on a throne and judging us. It's really about a feeling in the heart, a knowing in the heart of a power that is really much bigger than anything we know here, but something which is felt inside of ourselves. And so we're really in a kind of a cool, exciting place spiritually because we're going beyond into a whole new world where God is really something that is beyond our recognition, and we're just kind of jumping in and feeling it and using the spiritual laws that we teach in these philosophies that are so deeply empowering. So I found this on Facebook. In science, we call it energy. In religion, we call it spirit. In the streets, we call it vibes. All I'm saying is trust it. And this is the big growth for us, to be able to trust something that is totally invisible. You can't really feel it. You can't touch it. It's just something that you know. It's something that you see inside yourself. You see inside other people. You see it in the actions of people who are doing good. You see it and feel it in songs and inspiration, but it really is something not just to feel, but to trust in, because that's the power of God, of spirit, that's calling us to learn more about, to embody inside of ourselves and live into. Richard C. Schwartz, and I'm going to be talking about him a lot today, so this is just kind of your teaser about him, and I'll tell you who he is. But he says the majority of religions and spiritual philosophies say we are sparks of the eternal flame, drops of the divine ocean, and manifestations of the absolute ground of being. Do you believe that about yourself? Some of you do. Some of you might be going, huh? What does that mean? And I get that. There was a big part of my life where I would never relate to this. I would never see this grand energy as my energy. But this is what we're seeing now, that we're going beyond this definition of God as this person, as needing to abide by certain laws and rituals in order to be spiritually vibrant, alive, and fulfilled. It's beyond that. It's something that we have inside of ourselves, and recognizing it sets it free. Alan Watts says, you don't need to seek God out there, look out there for God, or something in the sky, right? Our sky God we used to talk about. You just look in you. And that's a big, big deal. It's a big deal to a lot of us who were taught that God is out there and that you have to appease something. No, it's right here inside of you. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of our philosophy, says there's that within every individual which partakes of the nature of the universal wholeness, and insofar as it operates, is God. And so I don't know if there's anybody out there who has a problem with the word God. I get it. I know there can be a lot of baggage with it. But what Ernest, I got one right there. Yeah. So, and that's why we like to use different words. Infinite intelligence, spirit, that's love. We like to use different words because honestly, and I will tell you this, for me as a minister, we're tasked with kind of formulating and putting our vision into words so that we have this kind of centeredness in what we do in this world. And for me, I don't like being told what to do. I really don't. But I always kind of thought, you're supposed to have this vision for yourself. And so when I think about it, and I've thought about it over the years that I've been a minister, I always come back to this one thing. And it's, I want you to find your God self, your spirit. That's my thing. Because I know that when you find it, you find that spark, like what Ernest Holmes is talking about, that spark within, when you find that, everything else takes care of itself. Everything. Because there's a new life that's rising into your awareness that once you see it again, it's like the genie can't go back in the bottle. Because that life is so powerful. When you experience your oneness with it, things change. And so that's why I love to talk about this subject in our service, because I want to remind you of what lives and what is who you are. You are part of a universal wholeness, alive and well. It never goes away, ever. And this is what I've kind of thought of God. This is what God or Spirit is to me. After just reading all this stuff, it's infinite possibility that is always present. When we go to 1-minute miracles, there's something in our life that we want to change, and we can't see how to change it, or we don't know how to change it. And so we call upon something bigger than ourselves, something that has more of a expanded way of finding solution, or something that brings new life to us, that allows us to feel better. And to me, that really is what God or Spirit is all about. This infinite possibility that's always there. I just got to tap into. And it's creativity. It's unconditional, unceasing love. It is consciousness. It is an energy that is beyond what we use to define it. And that's the beauty of science of mind. So my talk title is, How Big is Your God? And I got this from Dr. Laura, because you used to say it a lot. You used to say, how big is your God? And that's my question to all of you. How big is your awareness of this energy that lives inside of you, that's for you, that is unlimited possibility? How big is it? Is it this big, or is it this big? And I think it's important for us to ask that question. How big is this energy? How much of it am I going to let into my life? How much of it am I going to trust? How much of it am I going to surrender to so I can have clarity on my life beyond what I have thought I am? The idea that at your essence you are pure joy and peace, and that from that place you are able to manifest clusters of wonderful leadership and healing qualities and sense a spiritual connectedness, runs counter to what you may have learned about yourself, and that is the rub. That's the problem right there. What we have learned about ourselves blocks all of that good wisdom that's nestled within us. So what is it's standing in the way of embracing our divinity? Our beliefs about ourselves. And I stand here telling you that I believed I was a piece of poop on somebody's shoe for a while in my life. That's just what I came to believe about myself. Don't ask me how I got there. I don't know. Well, I kind of do, but I don't want to talk about it today. But I get it, because I just couldn't get with the idea that I am divine inside of myself. So that's where the problem is. That's where the blockage is. Because the truth is, we are that energy. And so I came across something I always have to share with you. I came across this really cool psychological process called IFS, Internal Family Systems. And this is where that Dr. Richard Schwartz comes in, because he's the one that developed this method of healing in the 1980s. And I just found it, and boy, am I excited about it. And when he says internal family systems, it isn't about your mom and your dad and your sister. It is about a family that lives inside your head. A family that lives inside your head. Oh my God, I loved that. I don't know if you guys have noisy minds, but I do. Right? I got a lot of things talking to me. I got this one that's saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. I got that one that says you need to do better. I've got that one that says, oh, let's have a pity party today. I got a lot. And I think we all do, and that's why this system is so cool, because it says you got to pay attention to what's going on in your mind, because there's lots of different voices going on in there. But what really captivated me about this new system, well, it's new to me, is the self. There's a self. And self, as you've already read some of these quotes by Richard Schwartz, self is like our God essence, that we have an aspect of self that is pure spirit. But when all these other voices are talking at us and trying to get our attention, that self is on mute. And so the thing he teaches us is to listen to those voices, see what they have to say, and then they go silent. And then the magic happens. The self can rise up, and that's where we can start vibing from. And that self is all about creativity. It is all about love. It is all about optimism. It's all about faith. It is an energy that we call God, Spirit, Infinite Intelligence. And I thought, how cool that this psychological modality of healing has the self right at the center. And that's the goal to get to live a good life, a happy life, a joyful life. So he says this, I can't see the flame. Whether you believe it is God inside you or simply a higher level of consciousness, there is a higher belief among traditions around the world that such a place exists within us, and that is not difficult to tap into. I mean, this just integrates with what the world religions, where we can get away from the dogma and all of the judging and come to the essence. He has found that we all have that. You don't have to call it God. You can call it creativity. You can call it love, but there is something inside of ourselves that is really incredible. And it's time for us to tap into. Richard is saying, you can do it. It's not that hard. We do it here. We do it here by reminding ourselves who we are, by praying, by working with practitioners and ministers who help us to find what's blocking it so we can get into that self-energy and live a higher life. So we have to be mindful and live in the present and become the observer. I'm telling you, I think all of our talks always hit this point. We cannot be asleep in our lives anymore. We cannot be on automatic pilot. We've got to be present to what's showing up, how we're thinking, what's going on up here, so that we can flesh it out and find the self. Oh, so I found this little humorous thing on Facebook. Cats are really in right now, I know, for the humor of it all. I'm not going to tell you why that is, y'all know. So I love this. It's got a cat. Mindfulness is living in the present. And so it's now sitting in a box that's a present, and it feels much better now. I love cat humor, right? Feels much better. Anybody have a cat here knows boxes are nirvana. Don't buy them cat toys, just get a box from Amazon, you'll be fine. So mindfulness is living in the present. If you want to look at it like that, that's fine. Just get a box and sit in it, you'll feel much better. So Richard says the more you notice, step back from, rather than not become or identify with your thoughts and emotions, the more you relax into being the you who is not your thoughts and emotions, that's the place to go. And I know it's really hard because we think we are our emotions. We think that we are our thoughts. And you know what? We really aren't. These things are just experiences that come up. They're reactions to life. But that's not who we are. We are that self. We are that spirit. We are that energy of creativity, of unlimited possibility, of love, of excitement, of optimism. That's who we are, not thoughts and emotions that come and go. We are the eternal, which is all about peace and love and harmony. That is who we are. And when we clear that inner space, when we're mindful, we can live in that. So he says that even non-spiritual practitioners have also recognized the benefits derived from turning down the mind's noise. You guys watching the Olympics, some of you out there? I love Simone Biles? I love her. I mean, phenomenal, such a phenomenon. She had her mental health issues at the last Olympics and had to bow out because her mind was really noisy. And she learned how to quiet her mind down. There was even a picture of her I've seen where she's like meditating in her little gymnastics outfit. She found the power of quieting the mind. And that, if you have a thing with God, it bothers you, just go to being in a place of quiet. Because honestly, that's a place where we come into knowing who we are beyond our thoughts and the craziness that can happen in our minds. It's a place that's very rich and powerful for us. It's a place where we can see better. So Ernest says it has been written that the truth shall make us free, provided we know the truth. And we note that the evolution of man's consciousness brings with it the acquisition of new powers and higher possibilities. And so for me, the truth is just knowing who we are, that we are this infinite, loving, joyful energy inside of ourselves. And the cool thing is, as Ernest is saying, when we know that, we're expanding ourselves. We're evolving. I don't know about you, but I don't like stagnation. It frustrates me. I like to be moving and being in the flow of life and newness. And Ernest is saying, well, if you know who you are, then your consciousness can't help but expand and come into higher possibilities for you to live your life. You may not be able to conceive that in your mind. Sometimes it's hard to even say, really? How could that be? Doesn't matter. Find that place and the rest will take care of itself. Those new possibilities, those higher possibilities, new powers you never knew you had, will come to life when the mind is quiet and the self can rise up in the center of your expression of being. So my last slide is this from The Wizard of Oz, and I didn't even realize our closing song is I think it's from The Wiz. So Glenda the Good Witch said, "You had the power all along, my dear. We have always had this power inside of us, always. We just thought we didn't. We just thought we didn't. And now it's time to unthink that and realize of the magnificent, huge, expansive power that dwells within all of us in this room, all of us online, all of us in the world have that power. And so when we claim that, own that, recognize it, give it a place to express, ignite it, live by it, your life is going to change, and the life of the world will change as well. Thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your day. Namaste.